party. And the New England Journal of Medicine does some myth-busting when it comes to watching your weight.
Earlier we talked to David Allison. He headed up the team who wrote the report about sex and weight.
You, of course, are also the Associate Dean of Science at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. You work on this. Let's talk about some of these myths. The first one I think that may surprise a lot of people is you say sex doesn't really burn calories. Really?
Well, it does burn some calories, but not as many as people might like to believe it does. If you look on popular diet and nutrition websites, they often say that a bout of sex burns roughly 150 to 300 calories per 30 to 60 minutes. The reality, unfortunately, or however you choose to see it, is that the average bout of sex lasts about 6 minutes and burns about 21 calories, which is the equivalent of a couple of life-saving
If you mentioned burning calories and exercise, it seems that it always comes down to eat less, exercise more.
That's absolutely right. What it comes down to is energy, which is coming from eating or expending energy through many things, but especially exercise. The question is, what causes some people to eat too much energy or not expend enough, and how can we reverse that? That's what we're still trying to learn.
That's a behavioral question.
It's partly behavioral, it's partly physiological and biochemical, but how we get people to expend more energy and take in less is the tough question.
The second myth you say is that small sustained changes in how many calories we take in or burn will accumulate to produce large weight change over long term. Why is that a myth?
Well, it turns out that what happens is people have previously projected that these things would accumulate indefinitely. So, for example, if one of us started walking 30 minutes a day after dinner, perhaps, that would spend 100 calories a day. Over 35 days, that's 3,500 calories. One might think that would burn a pound of fat. If you go out long enough, you realize that in 20 years, we'll each have lost 100 pounds, which is unrealistic, because as you get smaller, your body takes less energy to move you through space and to pump blood through the body, and so you reach a stable point.
And myth number 3, losing weight quickly is not as effective as gradual weight loss. I mean, everybody that says dieting, don't try and drop it quickly, have a sustained plan, but you say that's a myth. Why?
It sounds so reasonable, and we all want to be reasonable. It just happens not to be supported by the facts. Turns out that people who lose weight rapidly and lose a lot of weight in studies tend, on average, to weigh less several years later than people who lose less weight more slowly.
David Allison, thank you.
Only on CBS This Morning, we're taking you behind the scenes.